Warning, the following video may turn you into an activist.
Wankantila, Oshmaala, Pilamila, Wante Sapela, Wankanmato. Oh, mystery, Great Spirit, thank you for these places, these things, these gifts you give to us. These lands, this earth, behind us, Hota, the land of the snows, birthplace and stepping off place from the clouds of Chingishnish, settler of the ways of this land, who with the assistance of nature, whose allies, the eagle, mountain lion, have come to be known as the lawgiver to this land, whose rocks are ever listening to the words of the people who walk and pass through here as they convey them to the animals that live here.
We are among the top 10 in the nation. We base our homes on quality and customer service. Carlos has built his reputation on that. He's been building for 37 years. Now we're in Arizona and in Nevada. We're going real strong in Nevada. Very much involved with the environmental impact. They even, for instance, if you go around to the developments, you're going to find that they've used water conservation plants, that type of thing. So they're involved in that. It matters to them. It matters to them. It matters to them.
There are very few places that you can go in this forest anymore and not see the city, smell the city, feel the city, or hear the city. What you see happening on the Angeles, which is an urban forest, is in fact the future for other forests throughout the nation. In many instances, we have both the laws at the state and local agency level and the laws and regulations at the federal level. The problem is they simply don't work anymore. Once these lands are developed, they're lost forever.
This system here represents an alluvial system created by the erosion of the mountains upstream over eons of time. In the process of doing that, it has created large alluvial fans at the foothills of the mountain. Approximately 5% of all the alluvial fan and washes remain intact today. In Los Angeles County, there's only Big Tujunga Wash, San Gabriel River, Cucamonga Canyon, which we're in right now, and which is on the border of LA and San Bernardino counties. Then in San Bernardino County, we have Etowanda Creek, Day Creek, San Savine, and Cajon, Wash, and Lytle Creek. The largest remaining intact system in San Bernardino County appears to be from Day Creek eastward to Lytle Cajon Creek. Some of the animal species in here, many of them are candidate species for listing as endangered or threatened. Most prominent is the San Diego horned lizard. It's a candidate Category 2 species, which means we have enough information indicating that the species is declining. We have insufficient information to specifically indicate what those threats are and how extensive they are. There are many bird species that utilize the wash. gnatcatcher, California gnatcatcher, which is a proposed endangered species, occupies alluvial washes.
A real indicator is something called scale broom. You'll have things like flat-topped buckwheat and coastal sage, which is an artemisia, can occur there. As it matures, you tend to get more and more woody species, such as the yuccas, which are in the lily family.
Another function of these washes provide a movement corridor for wildlife, birds, during migration periods or during seasonal migrations, in which animals that move from the higher country to the lower country during the winter, they use this for several reasons. Generally, there's shelter provided via vegetation. There's water provided. There's food associated with the plants and vegetation along the water course. A lot of these washes and riparian corridors have been fragmented by developments, by roads, by dams.
We have some records that indicate that as of maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, there were perhaps about 14,000 acres of alluvial fan sage scrub remaining. And many of those acres don't have a good outlook for persisting over the long term because dams have been built upstream or projects are in planning that will affect them. And so really right now, it's expected that once all the various schemes are implemented to mine gravel, build freeways, add homes, put in flood control, that we're probably going to end up down to about 2,000 acres here very soon. And that may sound like a lot of acres, but it's really not. Much of Los Angeles now Los Angeles County is literally wall-to-wall houses up to the edge of the National Forest. So we're looking at some of the last remaining areas out in the San Bernardino area and a couple of spots still left in Los Angeles County. The problem is that plant communities and ecosystems there are no laws to protect them. And I see a real great need for us to recognize that ecosystems need protection just as much as the individual species that occur in them. The lead agency makes the decision to go ahead with the project. Lead agencies are usually cities or counties, county governments, and they have no incentive. Their incentives are to increase the amount of money in the county coffers to keep the office open, to keep their staff employed. So if there's more people, that means more taxes and more dollars and more government. So the incentive for them to make good land use decisions just really isn't there. We need more impartial decisions to be made about what's in the best interest of a community, and rather than just financial short-term type decisions. The alluvial fan at Etiwanda is particularly unique because it's an ancient fan that developed over thousands of years rather than a series of terraces along an active wash. And there's a very unusual formation of white sage that occurs there, which I've never seen really anywhere else in that kind of density in any of the other areas that we've been working in. It's almost pure stands of this beautiful white sage that is very unusual, and really there just is nowhere else like that North Etiwanda area.
One of the unique things of the Etiwanda stand is that some areas have pure stands of white sage and buckwheat and black sage, and at the same time other portions of the stands have these very classical large statured stands of mountain mahogany and holly-leaf cherry, and so those are really impressive because they're not commonly found because they represent old terraces of the alluvial fan. The alluvial scrub is an ecosystem found only in Southern California, and as a community type it's unique, and then as far as the individual plant species that make it up, again, those are unique to Southern California. In the mid-'80s, we then undertook a study of all of the alluvial scrub stands in Southern California, ranging from the San Jacinto River stand to the Big Tujunga Wash stand in Los Angeles County. And the thing that attracted me to the vegetation was that it was a unique combination of shrubs that didn't exist anyplace else. In alluvial scrub, since they do occur on outwash areas from the mountains, they do provide actual or natural corridors for wildlife. Before urbanization, those corridors would have been dry sandy washes, and the borders of those washes would have been alluvial scrub communities. And now with urbanization has come the lining of those washes with concrete, and that just eliminates the alluvial scrub. And it also eliminates them as a corridor because wildlife doesn't go up and down concrete-lined washes very well.
The little knoll that we're standing on is the top of the scarp of the Cucamonga Fault that's responsible for the formation of this bog. If you look off in the distance there's a large shrub and then a small row of shrubs that continues off toward the horizon. That represents a trace of the Cucamonga Fault that's actually responsible for the formation of this wetland habitat. Looking up the canyon, you can see where the water comes from. The large terrace allows water to percolate through the alluvial material downhill until it's interrupted by the fault that you just looked at. The canyon's particular virtue is that it's the only large canyon on this side of the San Gabriel Mountains that doesn't have a road in it. It's pristine, a gorgeous canyon. Bighorn sheep are active in the winter all the way down to the bottom of the canyon. As you walk up this hill here, you're walking right up the scarp face of the Cucamonga Fault. The bog is just on the other side of the fault here. Its presence was caused by the fact that the clay in the fault ponds the water on the uphill side of the fault. That water is close enough to the surface to maintain a constantly wet environment and a type of plant community that's in sharp contrast to what you see around you right here. Before we walk across the fault, you might notice the texture and the color of the soil here. That's decomposed granite. It has very little organic material in it, typical of the alluvial gravelly kinds of soils in the area. As you walk across the fault, you'll see that the soil turns dark. It's got nearly 80% organic matter in it and is almost entirely the product of the chemistry of the bog. If you dug down through the mat of turf here, you'd find that the soil is wet. I've been working on this bog since 1979. The soil has never been dry. Sometimes where we're standing here, the soil has been shin deep in boggy mud. My students have worked across this bog. Soil samples have been taken to depths of 50 inches or more. The bog's age could easily be 100,000 years. That dates to before the beginning of the last ice age. They're all gone. This is the very last one. A little blue line stream. California walnuts, California sycamores, a couple of species of oak trees provide nesting areas for quite a range of bird species that almost certainly includes the California gnatcatcher. The taxonomy of insects, spiders, scorpions, and their relatives in this area is amazingly unknown. The entomologist in the department has collected 2 species of scorpions from this area that are undescribed. Nearly half of the spiders that my students have collected are undescribed species. Well, the kinds of threats that are presented to this habitat really include only development. The water company has been engaged in its waterworks activity for nearly 100 years. They've been a golf course is proposed upstream from the bog. That could have substantial impacts because of the runoff from both fertilizers and pesticides, from the possibility of the introduction of exotic weeds to the habitat, and to the alteration of the course of the alluvial water, the groundwater that flows to the bog. If the habitat was developed, by that I suppose you mean bulldozed and pads cut and houses built, then it won't recover because that's essentially a permanent alteration. I don't know how little left you have to have before the government decides that what small amount remains ought to be saved, but it's clear that a good deal less than 5% of this particular habitat remains undisturbed, and all of it is presently slated for development.
The rivers were there long before the humans got here. It would be a shame if we did not learn from the experience of concreted channels of San Gabriel River and Los Angeles River, and we did not take into account the natural floodplain and the riparian wetlands that exist and the corridor conditions which would be lost if we were to cover it with wall-to-wall development and have the flood control channels concreted to protect that development. And with the housing, there will be fertilizers, nitrates, and phosphates, which will eventually leach down and will probably contaminate our aquifers. The rivers like the San Gabriel River, the Cucamonga Creek, the Big Tahunga Creek come down, and they have eroded these deep canyons, and once they come out into the plains, they lose all that sediment because the velocity is decreased and it forms big alluvial fans. These alluvial fans over the last millions of years have coalesced to form an apron which supports the alluvial scrub habitats. Many of the channels, like those of the San Gabriel River, those of the Rio Hondo River, and of the Los Angeles River, as shown on this map, have been covered with concrete channels, and now there is a rethinking of if that was a wise decision, because we've lost much of the recharge that occurs. The water that we have as part of the hydrological cycle on this planet has been there effectively the same amount for the last 600 million years. It's not going to change very much by adding water from other sources, and therefore we need to rethink the water rights. We need to rethink our responsibility to others that use this water, because the hydrological cycle has no political boundaries, and therefore we need to look at the water more globally, because to rehabilitate the ecosystems is like healing the earth, and when we heal the earth, we heal ourselves.
Sure is nice to see that creek flowing like that, though.
Who is the owner of this?
It's owned by Ritchie.
Mitsubishi?
Mitsubishi, I think this is called Owl Rock.
Is it okay to be shooting out here?
Huh?
Is it okay to be shooting this
No,
out?
it's private property.
Oh, this is?
Maybe they don't like it. Yeah, this is owned by someone.
Oh, this is all
Private property, yes.
Okay.
In 1957, you didn't have as many homes around this area, and it was more desolate. But today, it's 1992, and we have a different situation. And then just 6 years ago, that same permit came into effect when they started mining our mountaintop. I've had many complaints. Yes, I have. Nothing's impossible. An investment interest in the company doesn't give the right to supersede health when it comes to the public. What I would like to find out from the people, if the people feel that their health's more important than having the mountains torn down, then they would have to come forward. People have to be aware that there's a bad situation going on. We have a lot of people, do cough. A lot of people have sore throats, but a lot of them aren't aware, what really causes this and what makes their sore throats hang on and their coughs hang on. But I've heard from some people that are well aware that that could be it. It's the particulates in the air that bring out the poorness of the health or the situation of a person, especially younger kids and babies and older people, our senior citizens. It's definitely a more health hazard on them than the general population. So what we have to do is make people aware of these dust problems, and they would have to correct them. City Hall would have to get out and correct the violations that are taking place. I believe the solution is in good government. I believe that when you have men, they're willing to stand up, that become forthright and honest and put people first instead of money and power, then we could possibly have a good government. And in order to do this, you're going to have people that come out in numbers. And these numbers should support the people that really care about other people. But the trouble today, we have too much apathy. People always leaving it up to the next person to do the job that they should be doing, or they should be part of that job, getting out there in the forefront and protecting their atmosphere. One of the things we don't want to do, you heard of doomsday, and scientists predict all kinds of things coming from the environment, from the pollution in the air and everything else. We don't want to wait to the last minute and say we wish we'd have did something, because then it would be too late.
Mitsubishi does have a percentage ownership in the Owl Rock plant, but not directly Azusa Rock. So I'm not exactly sure where the ownership. There's been 3 title changes in there, all retaining the same interest, but it's just been shifted around. I don't owe them anything. Yes, they have helped me in my campaign. They've helped other politicians in here in their campaign, but because I receive a campaign contribution doesn't mean I owe anybody an obligation that I keep them open. Going back to 1956 and hindsight being 20/20, probably yes. I would say that we wouldn't allow that type of operation there. We would definitely say it wouldn't take place the way it has. You would do it in a totally different manner. I think it's negligent on their part in the manner that they've done it. They've left it looking in a very deplorable condition. We sent to all environmental agencies. We sent to the Department of Fish and Game. We sent to the Department of Wildlife. We sent to the Ecological Department of Los Angeles County. All 3 entities wrote off on the negative declaration, said that there was no environmental impact. The biggest polluter up there is not being identified. We have tons of lead going into a riverbed right below that quarry, and yet not one thing has been done to address why that lead is there and why they haven't begun a cleanup operation of the lead contaminants. And you want to talk about contaminants of nitrates or chloroform, and lead poisoning is probably the leading killer in water contaminants and the leading killer of liver cancers. And yet the Department of Forestry, water conservation sections, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers, fail to address that and just close their eyes and go right around that. I would agree with you people that the Department of Forestry should have taken a little more look. I think just recently I understand that 2 more parcels were just sold for quarrying operations up there from the Department of Forestry, so I am assuming they have no concern environmentally or for the protection of their forests.
We can't participate right now because there's some litigation pending on some of the same issues that you want to talk about.
Some litigation?
It's not through your group, but it's through another group, and she understands that, and I told her that I wouldn't be able to do it.
So you can't?
I really can't do it, I'm sorry.
And it's just job regulated? Or?
Well, yeah, when it comes to something like this, we have to have a script ahead of time. We have to have it okayed by our regional office in San Francisco. And
attempting right now, working with the San Bernardino County Flood Control, to preserve at least Etiwanda Creek intact all the way down as far as the development goes. We're aiming to protect the 100-year floodplain of Etiwanda Creek. At least we have one unaltered example of alluvial wash and alluvial fan ecosystem. This is a debris dam, mainly to stop the large debris or boulders and rocks material coming down and impacting developments. The spillway is designed to carry the water over, hopefully without large debris in it. It'll be sandy and turbid, but it won't be carrying large boulders that could cause damage to development. Many of the washes have these across the mouths of them as they come out of the mountains. We're constantly faced with that same statement that, well, the environmentalists have to be reasonable and not try to protect everything. It's time that the pendulum swing the other way and we do protect what we have remaining. Otherwise, we will not have anything resembling what once existed here in Southern California. We haven't got anything to compromise anymore, particularly in Southern California. Riparian habitat in the state of California is down to about 8%. Wetlands are down to about 4%. Alluvial scrub habitat is down to about 5%. So there comes a time when we should say enough is enough.
Here in San Bernardino County, in this, what they want to call this area, the Inland Empire, and there's a keen interest in promoting growth here. The irony to me is that the people who come here are the people who could no longer stand living the kind of urban life that they experienced in Los Angeles County. And yet the local counties here want to do the very same thing, wall-to-wall houses and wall-to-wall malls and freeways. And it really isn't a very healthy way to live.
For many years now, 17, 18 years, I've been coming to this place, gathering the sage, drying the yerba santa, preparing the mugwort for people all over the country, all over the world, so they could partake in this plant and enjoy the benefits that they receive from it, their health, their well-being, for their protection, and for their happiness. We are on this earth but for a short time. It is ours to care for, ours to love, ours to cherish. It gives freely and asks little. This year being the year of the indigenous people, there's a lot of activity in coordination with Earth Day this year, where traditional values of ecological sound activities are coming to a forefront. And so there's groups of council fires that are coming together that are going to bring these issues to traditional leaders to try and have a coordination between the ecology and the indigenous movement, and that this is a prime example. And I've had a vision that this was going to happen here, that this was going to become one of the battlegrounds for people who have the line between spiritual enlightenment and physical development. And so the things that I've seen come to be, I feel are an inevitable opening. This may well be the year where people will voice their outrage at the disrespect to the Mother Earth that we see around us, because this, to many, many people, is a very sacred ground. And that these plants are not just weeds, and they have a inherent value to people, that they're not going to allow them to just disappear under the bulldozer. And I'm convinced that there are people who, if aware of, would be out here in front of the bulldozers saying enough is enough. And I'm certain that participation in making that happen is an important step to keeping this inherently valuable, because it is a very special place. And it also may be immaterial of all the other forces of the universe. This may just have its own spiritual life to it, that people will come and respond to it, because I certainly know that it has inherent value well beyond and more than the houses that could ever be put on here. It's enough that we have the power lines going through here, but this is a spot that's worth standing up for, and I think it's going to happen.
Running down the valleys, ocean and its streams, great blue heron graces the shore, waters rushing before. Don't down the river.
Oh, there's like 119 golf courses in Los Angeles County, I believe, already. And many people simply feel that, enough is enough.
The desert's waiting, red rock canyon walls, hot sun is beating. One coyote called sagebrush fragrant in the stillness of the heat. Desert fire burning steady beat.
If there's a bad situation going on, we have a lot of people, do cough. A lot of people have sore throats. but a lot of them aren't aware, you know, what really causes this and what makes their sore throats hang on and their coughs hang on.
Tall grasses waving miles across the sky, broad fields remembering the buffalo hunters cry, song to season, circled by the stream, sweet grass burning, breeze fresh and clean. Don't plow the prairie, leave the prairie alone. Don't plow the prairie, 'cause the prairie is a home. Don't plow the prairie.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone. The rarity of the habitat and the number of species that occur in it that are characteristic of this habitat certainly warrant that kind of protection.
Golden eagle flies, the mountains touching the sky. Don't mind the mountain, leave the mountain alone. Don't mind the mountain, 'cause the mountain is a home. Don't mind the mountain, let the mountain survive. The mountain is alive.
Rehabilitate the ecosystems is like healing the earth, and when we heal the earth, we heal ourselves.
We are all alive. We are all alive. We are all alive.
It's time that the pendulum swing the other way and we do protect what we have remaining. Otherwise, we will not have anything resembling what once existed here in Southern California. We haven't got anything to compromise anymore.
The rocks of the sacred sweat lodge. We had sage to cleanse the inner self. We burned cedar and copal and made prayer to the four directions and to the earth of which we are a part. We made prayer to the spirit shining like a light in every blade of mesa grass, stirring the wind into vigorous circles. And we asked forgiveness of the mountains and the seas, the plants and the animals, and the indigenous peoples of every continent. Forgiveness for what our people have done to this earth body, and also forgiveness for what we as warriors have yet failed to do. And we give thanks to you.
Here we heal and here we hide. Here we reach down deep inside. As we heal, and so does she. And as she heals, then so do we.
Even
Tänään ohkiisuum. Amskapo. Ensin nänne kuitenkin tuot kuitenkin äkätikan. Oomimaan. Mä kui ehtää. Uhtsaa kui pinnimäis mä tapskaakut. Oomimaan. Spadepää piikku. Tänään puhutsi mä itse. Se tämmöistä tapsti suihus menin sitä pikkuja. On väpiksi väputtaa. Hänne naannako. Kiomi vasta läysetti naapuhus. Nämä matkuskaakia. Joo, tosi tapai ei mua tapai omo ei ole. Mukstsivakin niin tang. Niin, tang leikki. Kenen se on sitä pokomuutsi. Kanedin laa. Naki kai kustsism mistäkin olisi tulemassa täytyy taapu ahkaan mahtaa lohki tahkuita piisaa. Kiikuta ei suksi sitä piin. Aamuksi kaattuutu joukkaaksi. Mistäkin. Mä tahkuisi se tuovaksi. Auto äskuut kai. Kenno katamista tuomiaksi. Mahkanoit siis on. Kanoit saa käkittää, että pop. Käkittää säskuukin ja vaan piituksia ja stuukkiin. Johka näyttöit siihen sovi. Käkstäni isäskuukin on. Kämö matakatsi tohkutsi. Ei sitä päivä on mihkauppaa tsikkääkin opi. Kähtsikääkään. Lähtöhkö nääponista pikka muutamaa. Matsukaa piät. Kemikkaa puhuikka maaksi. Maakitaan saa. Se on tämä kinäkitskimään siskaa. On tommahkita piät. Matsukaa piät maksee. Maki tunnetaan. Kaukustutsen määni ethtää. Anna maailman sitä itäpi inni kuin. Haukin nyt on mennään nyt. Hakstama on inni tää. Matak. Kenen sen okse päätä piippinnän. Minnissikin mua ja aamue. Tahkuuspinnän. Mistä?